Aloha, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us to Tuning Up with Iggy and Dave. I hope you had an excellent week. It's Tuesday already, and something we're all looking forward tonight. Dave, how are you this evening?
I'm great. Bravo with the opening.
I was very nervous.
Yes, it was taken away from me last week after I was confused who was Iggy and who was Dave. So, Iggy, well done.
No, it's already, it's Tuesday, and so for some of us, hump day is Wednesday, but by Tuesday evening, you have to know that Dave has put so much work already in just the first 2 days of the week that by Tuesday evening, he's ready for happy hour. And we're just very happy for his presence, for your presence, and just to be able to relax a little bit and enjoy this moment. So we have a very special guest tonight. We're so happy to welcome the music director of the Moanalua High School, Mr. Elden Seta.
Hi, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I know you are very, very nervous.
I am.
You're very honored to join us, but you talk to kids all the time, but you said you were very nervous. You weren't sure if you'd have much to say, but how do you feel right now?
You got that right. I'm nervous, and this is not the same thing as talking to students. Yeah, students, you can talk to them, and they're polite and they listen, right? And but this is, I don't know who I'm talking to, and you don't have much control over what happens. What happens exactly, right? So
well, just think of Iggy and I as two 17-year-old boys that are polite and respectful, and will that help?
I'll try.
Okay, great. Iggy, you have to behave this evening.
I know I don't want to reveal too much, but my wife has a few students who attend the Moanalua High School.
Definitely.
And so she's told them, make sure you tune up tonight and check out your music director. Dave should...
this is a great opportunity to remind listeners and viewers that they can text in to us this evening and ask questions of our guests, of Iggy, of myself, by texting the number here on the bottom of your screen. Getting very good at that. And we are happy to take those questions. And we will have a quiz question. And since I know we have students watching, we must preface this with the winner must be of 21 years of age, reside here on Oahu, and if you win the quiz question, you will get this lovely bottle of wine from our sponsors at Hawai'i Wines.
And what is the wine, Dave, or should I announce it?
Oh, please, Iggy, tell me.
Well, it's a wine from Spain, so please forgive my pronunciation of Spanish, because the J, I never know if it's or so tonight's wine is a Juan Gil silver label from the region of Humila, 2018. Again, if it's Jumila or Humilo, apologies, I'm not Spanish. Again, the wine is a Juan Gil silver label of 2018 from the region of Humila.
Well, we'll let people think about that for a moment.
But we also have an accompanying tray.
Oh, we do. We have a charcuterie plate from our friend Terry at Hawai'i Wines, who, if you drive past the Hawaii Theater Center right now, but don't watch our show and drive at the same time, you'll see Terry's name up in lights on the marquee because she is celebrating her anniversary today. We know she's off with the husband having dinner across town, so happy anniversary, Terry, and thank you for your support.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know what, Elden, I came here in 1997,
Okay.
and so I came for the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra, which then was called the Honolulu Symphony Orchestra. And the first student who called me for violin lessons was Hana Choi, or Hana Che.
Right.
And she said, hi, my name is Hana, and I attend the Moanalua High School. And that was the very first time I had heard of that school. Do you remember those days, 97, 98? And actually, you guys went on the big trip. What happened? Can you tell us about that?
I remember everything about Hana. I mean, Hana was one of those students that, no joke, she practiced all day. I mean, Well, I wish they all did that now, but she practiced all day. She practiced every break period. So even if it was recess 15 minutes, it was lunch. She went straight for the practice room and she was in there all day practicing and practicing and practicing. That's all the time. After school, everyone knew that we were having a rehearsal in the main room. You could always hear her practicing in the practice room. Yeah, she worked so hard and very humble.
Yes, she was.
And super funny too, like really, really, really funny. So I remember everything about her. And yeah, she in her senior year, we went to Carnegie Hall.
Yeah, so tell us about that, because that was a pretty big deal.
That was a really big deal, right?
And you still have photos and posters of it at the high school right now, right?
Yeah, so that was the first time that we went there. We were lucky to go there 3 times.
So first time.
Yeah,
and how did you manage to get invited?
Well, someone had asked us to apply, and so we had every student in there. So the orchestra was like about 160 people from every level you could think of. So, we were still we're big, but we're still growing in terms of trying to get the quality and the concepts going. So when going to Carnegie Hall, especially for public school in 97, 98, it was more like, why would we ever get invited, be accepted? When we got the invitation, it was like a total shock. We were like, what? But what was great about it, amazing about it, was that it became a massive community effort to get us there, because it was expensive. Most of us have never been to the East Coast before. A lot of students some of them have never even been off the island. But going to someplace like Carnegie Hall is, you think of it as being the place of, when you reach the very top. I mean, especially to us, that was like the epitome of everything. And to be able to go there with a high school group was just really, it was just a really big deal.
So you had to fundraise a lot? The kids had to do a lot of...
We fundraised like crazy, and everybody got involved. We sold pies, we sold drinks during recess every single day for months, and everybody got involved. We had car washes, we had auctions, and it was just amazing how everybody just got into it.
And Dave, 97, 98, 99, was that too early? That was before your Juilliard days?
That was before my Juilliard days.
So you could not have...
I did not get to hear this performance. What time of year did you take these students? Not in the winter.
No, we went in spring.
Okay.
In March. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. I want to, for people just tuning in, our guest this evening is the music director of the Moanalua High School, Elden Seta. Thrilled to have you here this evening.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, we welcome questions, and we're currently talking about Carnegie Hall and that age-old question of how you get to Carnegie Hall. And apparently there were pies and drinks involved in helping to fundraise
everything
for this.
you could think of.
So it's not just practice, it's practice, pies, and practice?
Yeah, exactly. At one point I remember our small group was going out everywhere. Everything we could think of to try to raise funds. We go and play at a gig, and they said they'll donate maybe $100, and we took anything that we could, and everything went to the pot, and it was really great. Again, we were super lucky. We were really
well, you
lucky.
deserve it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you deserve it.
I hope so, but when we worked so hard. I mean, actually, it's so funny. I look at the program now. I'm like, what was I thinking?
And tell us about the program.
We did the Jupiter, the host, and we did a Hawai'i number, we did a Pops number, and we also did the Tchaikovsky's Fourth Symphony, the finale.
Wow.
And speaking of woodshedding, it was like teaching those kids. I mean, it was like, okay, fourth finger. And we're thinking, okay, good. Next note. I mean, we're learning that thing note by note. And there were so many rehearsals. I mean, everybody was just so burnt out before we went. And, I think that when you think about, everyone says that you tell kids about, you work hard, then you're going to have this when you have the experience, then you're going to forget about all these hardships. And there were many hardships. But when we got to the program, I thought rather well. But when we played, we got to the last note, and we finished the last note. We still remember the crowd was already on their feet already. I mean, somebody timed that ovation. They said that the ovation lasted for about 7 minutes. Wow. Kids were all in tears. And that's a perfect example of after you work that hard, and you earn it, and it all comes to fruition. All those hardships are small.
It's wonderful, 7 minutes of standing ovations, because Dave, as I understand, in New York, usually when they stand up to clap you at the end of the concert, it's so they can catch the last subway.
Yeah, sometimes.
Well, that might have been why they stood up to respond.
But they wouldn't.
Not for
They
7
had to
minutes,
stay
though.
for
Yeah.
7 minutes.
Yeah.
I want to go to the beginning of the concert. So I know you have a number of associate directors, assistant directors that you
Sure.
work with. Were you on the podium for the very first piece at Carnegie Hall?
With that concert, it was, in fact, we had our choir conductor at that time, Jun Masuno, and then my associate director at that time, Michael Engler. They both conducted a number each. So
Yeah.
I did the first, third, and fifth piece, I think. The Jupiter, the Andalusia's, Lecona, and then I did the final Tchaikovsky number.
What's it like standing on the podium at Carnegie Hall, thinking about, from Bernstein to you?
Oh, okay, so I don't know if anybody wants to know this, but then for that first concert, they put me, I always like to be with the students, and I don't like to lose track of them. I want to make sure they're okay all the time. But that first time was really strange. They said, "No, you are the conductor. You must stay in the maestro's room." So I'm in this room with this grand piano, beautiful room, and you see all the conductors all the way, all these people. You see all the past conductors, of that were in that room. And I just felt like I need to get out of this room. I don't belong here. One of these things are not like the other, like Sesame Street. And I felt so threatened to be in there. They said, "Oh, you may play the piano." I said, "I am not touching anything in this room." So I just sat there. Finally, I just left the room because I just felt like that I just didn't belong there. But it was an honor to say that I was in there.
Yeah.
Because it was, to know that the greats stood on that stage, and some of them, you hear about how they started, and that's their debut, and just all that history and the sound of the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, Dave, you usually like to ask a question.
I do. I like to ask the question, take us back to the beginning, which can mean a lot of things. But before I get into that, I want to give our listeners a little bit more context, because I am brand new here. And when Iggy said, "Hey, we're going to have this band director come on the show," and I said, "All right, great." And then I started to hear about your program at Moanalua, and the program that you've built there is quite phenomenal. And for someone who doesn't know the school system here, this is a public school.
Yes.
And how large is this program that you've built?
The program right now has about 600 students. Enrollment of 2,000. But going a little bit past that, I don't feel that I built it. It's not me. I think that it's just a line of amazing support and community, everybody working together. We have I think that you previously interviewed Hana Watanabe.
Yes.
It's having that. We have an incredible feeder school system, and that's a key.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. If your feeder school is not feeding you, the high school can only do so much past that. So having Hannah, Steven, Ryan, and more there in the past, Don Suha, all of them leading it all that time, helped us be able to build the castle going, on top of the hill. And that's the hill is the hardest part to build, So, and the line of teachers that the faculty that we had an opportunity to work with, that's our key. Parent support, man, the parents are just, yeah.
What do you call them? A booster?
Our boosters, yeah, the parents are so supportive, you know. I mean, we're so grateful to have parents that, you know, when things like great opportunities come up like this, it's not a no, it's more how can we make it happen? And they are there all the time for the kids, and we're really grateful. Yeah, a really strong administration. Every teacher knows that. You know, you can be a strong teacher, but you don't have that administrative support, like anything, right? Even with the symphony and everything, you don't have the administrative leadership. It's really difficult. So I wish I could take credit for it.
But well, you should, because
Yeah.
600 kids now, but when you started,
it was smaller.
it was
Yeah.
much smaller.
Yeah. But Richard Hotoke, who was my predecessor and was the teacher of people that you know,
Yes.
he did an amazing job.
He did.
He really gave them he did a good job with giving them the bass. It was a lot smaller than the orchestra was about 30 strings, you know, which was considered big, you know, and the band program was about over 100. That was considered one of the biggest ones back then. Yeah, and then after that we just kept building.
Brick by brick.
Thanks to everybody working together, yes.
So, Dave, what do you mean when you ask Elden, take us to the beginning?
Well, start from anywhere you'd like. But before that, I want to bring up a message that we just got, because it speaks to the support of the parents, and not only of their students, but of the program. And so I have to read this one because I can't paraphrase this. I am a Moanalua High School parent and just wanted to say a huge mahalo to Mr. Seta for his dedication to our children and everything he does for them and the music program, especially during this unprecedented year. He has done all he can to create special experiences for our kids in this very challenging time. Thank you. We love you.
Oh,
So
that's nice.
We're getting a number of these
Thank you.
messages, that, you know, overwhelming support for the work you're doing at Moanalua. So take us back to the beginning, because you haven't been there your entire career, or have you?
I have been.
You have been.
From day one.
Day one.
Graduated from college, and I just got really lucky. I got really lucky. We didn't know that there was an opening at Moanalua, let alone we didn't even think that we were all going to get jobs out of college. There was a whole bunch of us that graduated. There was no openings. And so, you know, we're thinking, well, that's it. I'm going to have to do something else. But then all of a sudden, Moanalua opened right at the end of the school year, almost into the summer. Everybody wanted it. Everybody wanted it. And, you know, we're the
What
newbie.
position was it back then?
Band, the music director. It was, you know, so, you know, everybody wanted it. And the best thing I can say is that I was just really fortunate. Really, really fortunate. Way more fortunate than I think I deserved to be. But it was, I've never, ever took it for granted. One of the principal at the time became a parent years back. His son came up to Moanalua High School after that. And, you know, he always teases me. He says that, you know, you were my best investment as a hire, you know, but you know, I gave him so much headaches.
Best return.
Yeah, I gave him so much headaches, you know, but anyway, I don't mean that to boast about myself. I just mean that I just got really lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then someone told me, said, whoever ends up landing Moanalua, and you know, there were people who were more experienced than I had, because I just had graduated just in May. You know, someone had told me, I remember they said, whoever lands this job will have gotten, they will probably be there for their whole career.
And so before you get the job, what I'm interested in knowing is, you know, you went to Proceeding High School, I believe. Growing up, how did you get started with music? What instrument did you play, and who were your sources of inspiration?
I started like any normal person. I started in 7th grade, beginning band, you know, at Highlands Intermediate, and it was a huge program. And I did it mainly because my brothers did it. You know, that was pretty much it. My brothers played in band. Well, my oldest brother is a sports, he's a baseball player, amazing player. But my brother my second brother played saxophone, and he was way more serious about it. So I kind of, you start to connect. At first, I was the typical kid going to the concert, wondering how long is this piece? When is this going to be over? I mean, that's the people at our concerts too. But it started typical. There was nothing special, and I was really bad, like really bad. Like I mean, the things that my middle school teacher used to tell me, you can't say no, But it's funny, that I didn't go home. I wasn't upset.
We went over that last week about things you can't say anymore.
Right. It's a totally different, even different than what I said when I started. I can't say no. But I was the typical person that I was really bad and just had to practice really hard, and after it just went the way it went.
But do you feel like, well, first of all, I don't know if I believe everything you're saying in terms of like being really bad, but do you feel that, so you have some people that have quote unquote, God-given talent and things come kind of easy for them, but do you feel that because you have to work so hard, you know what it takes, you appreciate it more in the end?
I don't know if I appreciate it more, but I know I appreciate it. I really do. And I'm very grateful for my middle school band director, Mr. Leong. I don't even know how he did what he did. I don't know, because I still can't do it.
But like because you had to work so hard, you maybe know how to teach it, as opposed to someone who just does things naturally and they just play things really brilliantly and then they say, okay, your turn.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess when we teach the students, one of the great experiences I can tell them, say, I know what it feels like to struggle.
Don't we all?
I tell them, say, I know what it feels like to everyone tapping their foot in cut time, and I'm looking at each other like, I don't understand why I'm tapping so slow when the music's going so fast.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get it. And I tell the kids that this is how I did it. Part of that might be an advantage. Like I know that it's not easy, and I know how it feels to be super frustrated and thinking that I don't think this is for me. But I told them that I also know how not to give up. And I tell them that don't ever give it up. I said, you don't have to play music or teach music for your career, but everyone deserves to love it.
So your first instrument, I'm sorry, did you say was the
Clarinet.
The clarinet?
Yeah. I'm a clarinet
And just let me open the parentheses. Did you? You said you actually some years ago took some lessons from our own Jim Moffett of the Hawaii Symphony.
I did, Jim. Yeah, he's
Jim
the man.
is probably listening right now.
Oh
so.
yeah, Jim, if you're out there, thank you so much. You're the man. Yeah, he sounds so good. He sounds so good. Like and Jim had it tough, because we were all students of Henry Mimura. Yeah, and of course, anybody who's a student of Mr. Mimura, even now, we worship the ground he works on. We respected everything that he could do, and can do, and just an amazing man. No one will ever be him ever again. It's just amazing. But Jim came in, and then he came in, took all the students, and of course, when you have a new teacher, it takes a while to get used to it.
Absolutely.
And you expect him to be Mr. Miyamura, right? And he wasn't. But he never tried to be him. That's what I respected about him. And he was so patient with me. He really was. He was so patient with me. He never got upset when it was just not happening. And that happened a lot, Jimmy, remember that? Yeah, it happened a lot. But he never lost patience with me. He always gave me hope. And you know what's the best thing about Jim? He still treats me as a friend, and he remembers everything about what we did. He
remembers everything about everything.
Yeah, he remembers the pieces I played. He would tell me that I remember when you did the Rossini introductions, and I remember we worked on the Sudameister together, and he talked about all these things, and that's when you know somebody really special.
So, in college at UH, you also have a education degree.
Sure.
Is that correct?
Yes, I have an education.
So what I'm very interested in is primarily performing myself. Then I got into teaching, but it's all empirical or based on my own experience of learning from my own teacher or my own experience as a performer. But I think there's a lot more to the educational aspect. Because I tried, when I was living on the mainland, I would go to a public high school and once a week, we would go to a public high school in Denver, and I would have those kids, and I would try to teach them, once a week orchestra, and it was a string group. And I had such a hard time, and I just, none of my experience was helpful. So it's sort of a broad question, but I don't know if it's easy to answer. What do they teach you in education, in an education program?
Well,
do they teach you how to teach little kids, or do they teach you string method? Do they teach you how to play the violin so that when you become a music director, you can play the violin to kids? It's sort of a very broad question, I understand that.
No, and actually it's a very fair question, because it is exactly that. It's everything. It's everything. I think that, number one, your applied is the most important. Yeah, your applied music, your instrumental knowledge, because that's the inner core. But then you have to take all the methods of every instrument. That doesn't mean that you can play them, but it gives you exposure, in order to be able to take knowledge and to pass it on to others. But you have to take all of the educational psychology stuff and about how to work with kids, about planning lessons, all the kind of stuff. It's a big deal. I mean, to graduate 4 years in education was I'm not sure about now. I can't say about now, but before it was really hard, very hard to do. I went to summer school every year, and I still took 5 years. There's so much stuff to take. But even that, I hope I don't make my former teachers angry, but it's what's really important, I think, in education is working with people. And I always tell my former students, which there was a lot of them out there teaching now, I tell them, get as much experience you can just teaching kids, just teaching kids. And I'll go back to what you said, it wasn't easy. It still isn't easy. Education is not easy. And if people say that, I'm going to go to education because I heard it's easy, I'm saying, wow, you're in for a really big surprise. It's not. There's nothing easy about it, but I will biasly say, but I don't think it's biased, I think it's the best occupation anybody could ever have.
And that's why my parents would say teachers never age, because they see the kids and they learn so much, and they're such a great source of inspiration.
Being around the kids helps to keep you young. Maybe it doesn't show in me.
It does.
But it does keep you young. The kids always, they just keep your mind going. It's great.
We have not done our quiz question yet.
We're scrambling to find a good one.
Oh no, we have an excellent one. We have an excellent question this evening. Iggy, would you like to ask the question? Would you like me to ask the question?
I'm not sure how I have to word it, but we were thinking of people who are Moanalua High School alumnus or alumni, who are musicians.
Famous.
And who...
Famous musicians who graduated
from
Moanalua High School.
Moanalua High School?
Yes. We'll leave it at that for now.
We'll leave it at that for now.
For now. There may be
we'll
some
narrow
additional...
it down a little closer, but that's a starter. So that is the question. Dave, I wanted to ask you, maybe you wanted to expand on that, but Elden was talking about, being a people's person, how you relate to others. Do you find, Dave, that in your position as the executive director, you're having to deal with musicians like myself? You're having to deal with, but you're having interaction with volunteers, supporters, donors, board members, staff members. Do you feel like you have to switch something off or on and kind of be in a different sort of mood, depending on who you're talking to?
That's an excellent question, Iggy. And I'll tell you that so one of the things that I've mentioned on here that I really enjoy doing is making thank you calls to our donors. And I find that there are certain times of the day where those interactions on the phone, since that's the way most things are are just, they feel great. I'm sort of at my best. And I'm at my best because I'm able to listen to what the people who are supporting us are interested in. And, the reasons that they're supporting the Hawai'i Symphony Orchestra. So I will say that there are certain times of the day where I feel like that's a good time for me to do that. But, it does sort of feel like always being on right now. Because every single person I talk with, it's an opportunity to talk about, to advocate for the symphony, to advocate for arts, for live entertainment, for federal stimulus, for X, Y, and Z of the things we need to go forward. And that is something that I'm continually getting better at, that I hope, and evolving as a person and as a professional and working on tremendously. But yeah, I can't imagine doing it with people under the age of 18 on a daily basis. I've got to be quite honest with you. It's got to take a different, yeah.
But before we get to the students, one thing you both have in common is you are talking with elected officials. You are, I know Dave very much so these days. But Elden, I'm so impressed at the school, Moanalua, you were building a very nice concert hall.
Yes.
But
Exciting.
you've had to have tremendous support in the community, and not just the parents and the staff, but did you have to actually talk to the leaders in that district?
Absolutely. I mean, they are the key. They're the key. I mean, especially like we have a brand new hall. Our grand opening is next week.
Wow.
It's a $38 million state-of-the-art hall. And without the help of Senator Wakai, Representative Ichiyama, and Representative Johansson, who they cashed in every favor you can in the state legislature and the Senate, starting the project, getting the money, that wouldn't have been a possibility. There's no way.
So you graduated from UH. Did you ever think that, okay, one day I'm going to have to talk to my elected officials to build the concert hall?
Not about building the concert hall, but I remember my former band director, Mr. Nakasone, who I respect a lot. He's an amazing man. He always told me that you have to really be sure that you make communication and contact with your area leaders, because he said that they're going to make or break, and they make the decisions. That's where the money comes from. You need to get their support, and I'm a lucky guy, because the first person that was one of the representatives in the state legislature, he was also a band parent. Yes. So it made that step really easy, Nathan Suzuki, and then all of a sudden, just talking to them, they really do make a difference. I mean, they really do. I don't think it's not about, like, sorry, I'm going to say something weird, but kissing up to them. It's not that. It's just respecting them, keeping them in the loop, making sure they know what you need. What do you need? I've been always told, you might also ask, because the worst they can say is no. So you just ask. And, this auditorium has been well over 25 years in the making in terms of dream, concept, and finally reality, which happens in a week. And so, yeah, I mean, there's so many people in that long line that play a very significant role in this auditorium opening for us, especially in this time.
Of course.
Yeah.
What does the inauguration of a new concert hall in the time of COVID look like?
Well, we just had our first sectional rehearsal today to get ready.
You mean in person?
We're in person.
Since last year?
Yeah.
Everything else before was online?
No, well, we've been, at Moanalua, we've been really lucky. We've been in blended learning since October.
Okay.
So, but then still, they're in small groups coming in at one time.
But this week was the first time?
Yeah, today I got to see the string section, well, just a small section, but we made a small orchestra of about 30 people. and we're going to get to play a portion of the event.
So you're rehearsing at the practice building?
Oh, we're practicing in our rehearsal hall right now. We're lucky.
Rehearsal hall.
You've been in our rehearsal room.
Yes.
We're lucky because our rehearsal room is huge, so we can fit a good amount of people in there and still follow the guidelines, the 6-foot distancing, the ventilation. We're just really lucky, much more lucky than others. So we just started that, and yeah, we have a small group of 30, about 29 students going to play a version of the Ode to Joy as part of the celebration of hope. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. Can't wait.
So
It's unreal.
Hey, Dave doesn't know, but we've been very lucky with the Hawaii Symphony to be able to perform in beautiful theaters throughout the years. Of course, here, the Hawaii Theater Center, Neil Blaisdell, the Shell, but also in the eastern part of Honolulu, on suburb of Honolulu, there's the Pearl City Cultural Center, which is a beautiful hall that, Dave, you haven't had a chance. And hopefully the symphony can use your hall. Will you give us a discount on the rental?
Yeah, that's all part of the plan. Okay, so if I shouldn't say this, just give me the X. But part of the whole plan that you folks don't know about yet is that part of the whole selling point was being able to bring groups like the Hawaii Symphony out to play in our community. And I know that when you folks play in the community, which is great, it makes life changes to everyone. Your venues might not be ideal. I remember playing with the Honolulu Symphony as a high school. They brought guests in. It was in a gym, which is fine. It was fun. The gym was packed, but the community got to hear orchestra play. Our philosophy, especially personally, I always say that I don't know how much, when you look at Salt Lake, how much of the people will leave their apartments to go and hear the symphony play, which is a great opportunity. So why don't we have a place where we can bring the symphony to them, and they come to go right up the street, and they get to hear a professional orchestra play. And not only will the parents be changed, I think if a kid comes and sees a player play and they say, that's what I want to do, then mission accomplished. And that's what it is, bringing people into the community so that they can be exposed to great things like this. Yeah, just bad timing right now.
Bad timing or great timing to make plans and to start the work, because these types of projects take years in the making. All the dedication over the years to make this a reality that comes true this week. It's something that I've spoken about as we've looked at a return and really being committed to being an orchestra for Hawaii. This idea that we should not expect that everyone's going to come to one location to experience what we have to offer. I think of engagement really as the ability for us to go into the community and say, what can you do for us and what can we do for you? And this type of mutual relationship that happens outside of necessarily four walls of a concert hall. So I am thrilled to hear this, and I got a little wind that this was happening from a few of our elected officials that have been very active in making this a reality. So I'm just thrilled for you to have this opportunity for a new performance space.
Yeah, we are lucky. We are. During the really bad part that we were going through months ago, it was really interesting. And give me the X, okay, if I'm talking too much.
No, please.
But there was, I told the kids, I said, it's been a rough year for everyone. But I can only speak for the Moanalua kids because I don't know, but I know that everyone's struggling. And I told the kids, I said, always remember, don't give up hope. And we're lucky at Moanalua High School. All you got to do is open the door to our hall, our room, and look straight out, and there's proof. There's hope.
Yes.
And one night, I had a really bad day at school. It was just didn't go well, and this whole thing was just getting to me. I was driving out of the parking lot, and I wish I could show you the picture, but I have it. But I was driving out of the parking lot, and then as the auditorium started getting more built, and all of a sudden, I was having a really bad day, almost to the point where you're wondering why you're doing this. It was that kind of day. But I stopped going on a parking lot. I looked up, and in the hall, you could see from the lobby, the lights of the hall were on. And you just stared at it, you know. And I told myself that I told the kids, see, I told you, said, when you think that everything is just time to give up hope, there's always a sign, a light out there that's going to tell you, don't give up. And that was it, right there, you know. And I showed it on, I don't know, was it Instagram? I don't remember. But anyway, I showed it, and then the kids were just at awe, you know. And it really is a great sign. We're really lucky. And I told the kids, don't give up. You know, don't remember that does not define how we play music. Don't lose it, you know. And it's been very difficult for them, and I give them so much credit.
I want to ask some of these questions that we've been getting in, because these are really wonderful and I'm curious about them as well. I've obviously not experienced this one, but a question from Jeffrey. You use a great deal of orchestral music for your marching band shows. Can you talk about why it's so important for your students to learn and explore the classical repertoire?
Okay,
Is that Jeffrey Buckman? No, we don't know.
It's a Jeffrey.
I think it's Jeff Bachman. But that's okay, that's good, all right? From the University of Hawaii. Thanks,
Yes,
Jeff,
Jeff.
if that's you, yeah. I think that exposing students to all kinds of repertoire is always important. You know, there's no one genre that's important, but when you think about the kids who don't get to hear stuff like this, you know, and appreciate it, my thing is this, like some people will tell me, why would you play Scheherazade on the football field? That's like not doing it justice. But my philosophy is that, but the kids loved it. And then they're saying, oh, Mr. Seta, I downloaded this orchestra version. It's really cool. Why don't we play this part? And how come we're not playing the fourth movement or the third movement? You know, stuff like that. Then we've exposed them. And even if they like a certain piece, because they played in marching band, I think that's okay because
they get hooked.
Yeah, because it was based off great music. Yeah. So I think it's awesome. I think that no matter what, we don't specifically always just choose classical in terms of what the theme is, but you know, gorgeous music is gorgeous music.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Can you talk about the difference between teaching orchestra and, say, marching band?
Wow, yeah, very different, but there's similarities.
Yeah.
You know, well, number one, the kids are the same. You know, the orchestra kids are all out on the marching band field too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're playing alternate instruments. They're in color guard. You know, everything. You know.
No marching cello.
No,
Okay,
I would get very criticized. I wouldn't be able to back that one up. Yeah, no strings, no wooden instruments outside. But I mean, strings. We did have violin one year. Cheryl Shohit's student featured in a Chinese number. That went really great. But there's, you know, I mean, the stepping, of course, you know, there's those obvious things. But, you know, musically, no matter, we always teach the kids, whether you're on Carnegie Hall stage or you're on a football field, still music is number one. Play good quality music.
I always bring it up, but the rhythm, the pulse, is it different when it's kids playing a wind instrument or playing a string instrument? Do they feel the beat differently?
I think that the instrument itself, or what you have to do,
The tone production.
yeah, or just the physical action, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes a violin player might get this quarter 8 note because of the
Mississippi
action.
hot
They
dog?
feel it. Yeah. How do you know that? That's funny. But anyway,
Let's not go over
For
there.
those interested, there is a 90-second clip of Iggy singing all the way through Mississippi Hot Dog.
oh really? Oh, I gotta check that out.
Anyway, please go on. Alex.
I gotta check that out. I will. But no, I mean, it's the same. I mean, every instrument has its different challenges. You know, I mean, there's stuff that the kids do out there on the percussion that it's like crazy what they're doing, and they will never experience that out. They the chances of them experiencing a certain type of percussion playing that they love won't be as, they won't be able to encounter that as much in the concert band or in the orchestra as they would in the marching band. So again, there's all these different factors. You cannot say one is, as far as, is it easier or harder? I think they're all hard. I really think, they're all hard. And the kids are really amazing. The kids really adapt quickly.
Sponges.
Yeah, I told you this. I still can't tap my foot and play the violin because my foot goes with my
You're bowing.
Yeah. I can't do it. I go really slow and my foot starts to lose control. But the kids just go, oh, it's not a big problem. It's easy, and stuff like that, So I don't know. I think I did not answer your question at all.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that are easy, though, our quiz question was not, although we have a whole list of people that I now know went to Moanalua High School. But the answer we were looking for is a pianist who went on to Juilliard.
Yeah, so we're looking for someone who graduated from the Moanalua High School.
Famous?
Who, very famous to me, who attended the Juilliard School and who is a pianist.
Wonderful bottle of wine this evening.
So, someone I'm very familiar with. Elden, I wanted to ask you, so the students, wonderful students.
Yeah.
I would like to know where you find the right balance, because if I see a bunch of students and, they bring so much enthusiasm and energy, and I like to have fun with them and we enjoy playing music, but there are times when you need to tighten the screws a little bit.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
that's where I struggle sometimes, because they go a little bit out of control and I'm like, whoa, I don't know how to deal with this anymore. On the other side of the token, then you have some students who need to be stimulated, who kind of are in the background and kind of a little bit tentative and not always confident when making music. So you have different characters of students.
Yes.
Do you find that your experience helped, or having an education degree helped, or the psychology of each student? And I guess from my own perspective, I want to know where's the fine line between, having them excited but not out of control.
I think you said the magical word, you have to draw the line very clearly. Yeah. But the line in my mind, the line doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have fun. The line to me is just, you got to know where morally not to cross. Yeah. And it's mutual. I got to know, the students have to know never to cross the line between teacher and student. At the same time, I have to do the same thing. I have to mutually know that when not to cross the line over to their side. That's kind of like how I think. We joke around a lot, but most of my students will tell me that they think I'm pretty mean, and I accept that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And every student will interpret you differently.
Right.
Right.
Yes,
Some
absolutely.
students are very hardcore. They tell me that, Mr. Seta, you have to be stricter. And some say that you're so strict that I feel
Right.
like and this.
Thank you for saying those
Yeah.
things, because
Yeah.
sometimes I just wonder myself. But
Yeah, no, really, and there's the greatest thing, the tricky thing, but the greatest thing is that everybody's different. But that's what makes education fun, because if everybody was the same, it'd be boring.
But do you feel like over the last, 20, 25 years, teachers have had to recalibrate a little bit?
Yes.
Because things you may have said 20, 25 years ago, you can't really say anymore?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to try to do this really
Diplomatically.
diplomatically and ethically right. Times have definitely changed. And the times have changed, but so have we and so have I. So I don't, there's things I tell myself that, I can't do anymore, I did it so much before and it seemed okay. But there's another side to it, Iggy. There's some things that I look back, I wish I did it differently.
Don't we all?
I wish I said it differently to the one kid because I don't know if I might have caused a student to stop playing their instrument because I might have discouraged them. Maybe I could have been a little bit more understanding and trying, and that all comes, I just talked about this about somebody in length. It comes with time, it comes with age. Some people say, Mr. Seta, you're so much nicer than when we had you. I said, probably. But I also know a lot more now than I did when I had you. These are my former students are parents of kids now. But I told them, but I know for a fact that I know a lot more now. And when you grow up and you get older and you have more experience, your philosophies change. And I look at kids totally different now. Not just but there's still things that I will tell the students that I don't care when you were born or something like that. Right is right.
But yes, okay, so that's great. And for me, actually, every once in a while, I run into something with a student. But let's say, you've had a long day. You have to wake up, 5 a.m. And the whole day you've been teaching and meetings and committees and phone calls and whatever. And then you have to conduct at the end of the day or teach. And you're kind of wearing thin. When it's and I'm sure Dave, it's a bit like that to you too, where if you have to talk to someone on the East Coast and then you have to get up at 3 a.m. and so you both have very long days, and at the end of the day, don't you get a little bit not angry but frustrated? And it's really, how do you maintain your composure at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean that happens to every one of us, and basically, I have to. It's something that we teach the students too. I don't know if they remember it, but number one, take a deep breath. Nothing is as bad as it seems. But the most important thing I always tell the kids, it's like, because we're in a different era now, I'll tell them, just remember, it's just like your computer. You have the reset button, the refresh. Click your refresh, and it's just like when your computer gets all overloaded and it's running really slow. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, things are just freezing up on you and it's just not happening, Click the refresh button, which clears all the stuff that you don't need. And then try again. So that's why pretty much I've been pressing the refresh button a lot, by the way.
And Dave, your refresh button are long walks with your dog?
Yeah, long walks. But I think for me, it's also, when I do have those moments, I think about prioritizing people first. And that is usually taking myself out of the context and really thinking about, if we're prioritizing people and what people need and the emotions that they're going through, it usually puts me back into perspective pretty quickly. I'll admit, after a long day, I wish I was home 10 minutes sooner than I am. And
I noticed too, like these days with like email especially, it's very easy. I read an email and I'm like, oh! And I immediately want to just like pound the keyboard and just like, not be very diplomatic in my reply. And then, so I try to make a point never to reply to an email, hot-blooded, and then let it kind of cool off a little bit. And then often you find out that the tone of the email you just read is not as aggressive as you thought it was.
Yeah. That's fair.
But I'm still working on it. No one's perfect.
So
sorry, I just kind of
we have a quiz winner. However, they won't reveal themselves, and they insist that we send the bottle of wine to that famous graduate of the Moanalua High School.
Oh, that's great.
Maybe I can be the messenger of that bottle?
Please help us, Iggy. What is the correct answer to tonight's quiz?
So tonight's quiz answer, we were looking for a Moanalua grad who went on to study at the Juilliard School of Music in New York and is a piano player. And the answer is Mrs. Christine Suehisa Jang, who was better known during her days at the Moanalua High School as simply Christine Suehisa.
Yes.
So
all right.
I don't know who won, who found out the answer, but
I would argue that you won, Iggy.
yes, we won because Christine will definitely not drink the bottle by herself tonight. She's probably the same color as the wine glass right now, ruby red. But takes us a few days to savor it. So thank you very much to the person who found the answer.
Yes. Well, I want to ask a couple of lead-up questions here as our time comes to an end. You know, one of the questions that I always like to pose to our guests at the very end, after you've answered everything, you know, so eloquently, is what does the future look like for the Hawai'i Symphony Orchestra and for classical music and symphonic music here in Hawaii? But I want to couple that with a question that was sent in that being, what can students learn, your students learn, from going to hear the Hawai'i Symphony Orchestra?
There's tons that you can learn. I mean, I learn when I go. That's why I go. I go to learn. How about just learning what we're talking about? You know, violas, blah, 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 play out. You don't want to ever not be heard. Like you always complain of not being heard. Then all of a sudden you come to the concert, they're like, did you hear the violas? I could only hear them. I said, exactly. Or they said, Mr. Seta, did you see they're all at the right part of the bow? I said, exactly. Now you know what it looks like. There's so much to learn. And, you know, repertoire, you know, learning about new types of repertoire. I love the music that you folks play. It's very diverse, you know, and there's so much music that I steal from you folks. When you folks play something, I write it down, I like it. Is it possible for us to play it? I write to the musicians, how hard was it? And they say, I think it's doable. And we try it. Of course. Yeah, it's great. So there's so much things they remember. They say, oh, I remember my teacher was playing this at the symphony last year. I said, that's where we got it from. They say, wow, it's awesome. So there is tons to learn. The future of the Hawaii Symphony, are you talking about because of the pandemic, or are you just talking about this general?
Just generally.
Geez, I hope that it flourishes like so much that, you know, you folks are playing so many concerts filled, packed. I hope that everybody gets a chance to have an opportunity to hear the orchestra play and be inspired. I have one. I hope this doesn't offend, especially members. I hope that one day I will close my eyes and know that the students of Hawaii, many of them are going to be, I mean, they already got, but they're on the stage playing with the group.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's what's great about having the Hawaii Symphony, what's so important, not just for them to understand where you're aiming for, but what are the possibilities for you? You know, I think that, and you know, when I see my former students playing Aris,
Yes, Aris.
in Young Park.
In Young Park.
Oh man, as a teacher, that's a gift that, again, that you don't really deserve, but man, you take it because you see that they made it, you know, and they you see them playing with everybody, and then I get to ask questions. What is it like? It's great, you know. I mean, I hope that more, I mean, not just Moanalua, everybody, that they know that they have a dream that's very attainable if they work hard enough. That's what I see.
Great.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad you didn't ask me one about the piece. That would have been really hard. So that's good.
I forgot about Aris. I mean, Aris Doike, I remember, and you know, cellist and fantastic.
player.
And in Young Park before him, and we started with my stand partner Claire Hazard, and In Young lives in Texas. Is you know, very excellent violinist.
Yeah.
So many great students coming out of your school?
Well, we'll look at it this way. A lot of those students were studied under Hawaii Symphony musicians. They were inspired by them. So I'm grateful for that.
And we are grateful for you for joining us this evening.
Thank
and
you.
for
It's
sharing about all of the wonderful work you're doing. And I'm excited about our future together. And I can't wait to hear this orchestra in your new space and to hear your students in the new space
Thanks.
as well. So, Iggy, what are we doing next week?
We'll have a special guest, not to be revealed tonight, but they all are fantastic, wonderful stories that come from the heart. Nothing is superficial, and we hope you'll join us again next week.
Great. Well, thank you again.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
And thank you all for joining us here for another episode of Tuning Up. Join us next Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. for something new.
Something new.
Thanks again. See you soon.
Life changed so fast.
During COVID, we've had a chance to think about what's really important in our lives.
The arts are an expression of what it's like to be human.
To feel, to help us make sense of our world. Does it mean anything if no one sees it?
Training and dedication are stronger than any virus.
We all need to express ourselves.
Keep doing the things that make you happy.
So when the lights come back up,
We'll all be ready.
For the last 24 years, your nonprofit Historic Hawaii Theater has helped millions of people explore and experience the wonder of music, theater, and culture. From school plays to Broadway shows, from the Brothers Kaz to the Beach Boys, we've transported you from Hawaii to the moon and back. Won't you become a member today and help preserve this last remaining historic show palace? Go to hawaiitheater.com. Become a member today. We can't do it without your support. Mahalo.